Good Monday morning, Falcon fans. Welcome to another episode of All In with Nate. Of course, this is a victory Monday for the Falcons. First time in over a month. Good Lord. But the Falcons found a way to win yesterday against, of all people, if we're going to win a game, it needs to be the New Orleans Saints. That was a good win for the Falcons yesterday. Even because, you're on a 5-game losing streak. And once again, this team, nothing's changed. They need to fire everybody still. Nothing's changed about that. It's always good to beat the Saints, but nothing's changed about what my thoughts is on the season per se. Just a couple of things that I would like to hit on from yesterday. For one, Kirk Cousins did not play bad. I saw a lot of us playing under center with Kirk Cousins. Raheem Morris claims that Kirk plays that he's more comfortable in the pocket under he plays a lot more comfortable in the pocket than Penix. That's what he said in his post-game show yesterday. And it shows. I also don't think that Zach Robinson has more say-so with a veteran Kirk Cousins than he would with a Michael Penix Jr. That's another reason why I feel like we need to get rid of Zach Robinson because he's still in over his head. And there was a couple of issues, just like yesterday, like it's been all season. We didn't have the best third down percentage in the game still yesterday. I think we were like 3 of 12, if I'm not mistaken. So we still not really doing that well on third down. There was a couple times in the game where plays were getting in there less than 10 seconds. That still is an issue. I think that's now really a Zach Robinson issue at this point. So I think the team are just in a position now where you got to see what you got. And that's a big win for the Falcons. They moved to 4-7. I still think this season is over, even though the crazy thing about it is with the way that the NFC South is looking right now, Tampa's kind of falling apart. They are now 6-5. Baker Mayfield just got hurt last night. Carolina could potentially be in first place by the end of the night. They play San Francisco on Monday Night Football. So this is why those games that you blew in the last couple of weeks are crucial, because you could very well find yourself back in the NFC South race. And now, unfortunately, you are trying to hope that you can just stay afloat with this team at this point. But also, another thing I look at with this team is this defense. I know a lot of folks that are screaming, bad record, we are 3-7, we should have kept our first round pick. I'm going to be the first one to tell you. This team I have no problem with the Falcons trading up for James Pierce Jr. in April. James Pierce Jr. would have been a top 10 pick in 2024. And that's the God honest truth. If you all watch college, you knew that dude was balling at Tennessee. Last year, because of character issues, when the draft process comes, you always get those players that you hear, they got character issues, they got this going on, they got that going on. So you always hear all those players that you hear had all kind of issues and stuff like that. And that end up being the reason that, teams are staying away from certain players. But the Falcons went and traded back and got James Pierce Jr. at 27. The Rams have our first. We're 4-7. But at the end of the day, am I upset at trading that first? No, I am not. And the Falcon fans that really watch this team should be feeling the same way. Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. have shown you that they were worth the picks. James Pierce has had a sack in the last 3 games. I don't know if a lot of you have noticed that. They both had sacks in the last 3 games. A lot of that's credit to Jeff Olber's scheme. They really are starting to show you something, but you have something that you're building on that defense. James Pierce Jr. has had a sack in the last 3 games. Jalen has been getting pressure consistently. You got something that you're building on that pass rushing unit. Brandon Dorlus is the quiet guy that nobody's talking about on this defense. He now has 6 sacks on the team in 2025. Like, we have not gotten this consistent pressure in years. So you're seeing some progression on that defensive line. So even if Jeff Ulbrich is no longer our D coordinator in 2026 with a new coaching staff, you got building pieces. We got Devon Diablo back in yesterday's game, and it definitely showed. And it definitely showed for the team. And I was glad to see that we're seeing some potential building with this roster. So they can really work this offseason on getting this team like they need to get it. We still need to address our secondary. I still think there's a couple of things. I'm still not the highest on D off. He had a good game yesterday. I'm going to give him his props. He had a good game yesterday. Not a fan of Mike Hughes. AJ cannot be your only corner on this team at this point. You got to get you somebody to play on the opposite side of him. So defensively, this team is trending in the right direction. I still think we need to address another linebacker. I love Diablo. He'll be back next season. He signed a 2-year deal. But Caden Ellis, I know a lot of folks like Caden Ellis, but I'm going to say it for another week. Caden Ellis needs to rush the passer and not play linebacker. He is better as a pass rusher, not a linebacker. He does not have the sideline speed to keep up with a lot of these running backs. He gets dealt with a lot of tight ends and different things, and that's okay. Some people cannot play that position, but I do think that Caden Ellis should be, if we do re-sign him, he should be considered more as a pass rusher and not a linebacker. That's just my personal opinion on Caden Ellis. That's just where I kind of stand with him at this stage of where the Falcons are at. But like I said, there's talent on that defense where you can build upon for next season that if you hit right in the draft. And by the way, Terry Fontenot, I don't know what's going to be the future of him on this team after 2025. He had a stellar draft. Xavier Watts got another pick yesterday. That kid fell to the 3rd round. That was a steal. Billy Bowman, unfortunately, he's been out and may be out for the season. But when Bowman was in, he was really solid too. So you've seen your draft picks really show up for this team this season. It just sucks that the team has been off to a bad start. As far as on the offensive side of the ball, I was glad to see Darnell Mooney got involved in the game. I don't know what it is, but Kirk Cousins finds a way to get Darnell Mooney going. And he was good. He was solid for us yesterday. Had his best game of the season. He had 74 and a touchdown. This is going to probably be an opportunity I don't know how long Drake is out. He may be back next week. He may not be back until we play at home against Seattle. But with the situation of Drake London, you are getting a chance to see, can he step back in and really be productive for you next season? Well, as far as like the rest of this year and going into next season. So that's something that you're going to be looking forward to see going forward with this team. But let me hit some of these comments before I continue with that. Hey, no, for y'all that's tuning in for the Man League, now this is not the randomizer right now. We could have easily lost to the Saints. Yeah, it's a good win. It's definitely a good win. They were coming off a bye week. They were at home. That could have been an easy spot for a letdown, but the Falcons defense showed up and showed out. The only score of the game was the pick six, and we led them to a field goal after that. So that was really a good victory for the Falcons. Kirk definitely looks better. It looked better yesterday. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they let him line up under center, which is more of his comfort zone. And we didn't sit here and try to force the issue of pistol. But I do like the fact that they got back to running the football, which we ran it 29 times yesterday. We've seen Tyler and Bijan both get a fair amount of carries each by themselves. So that was good for both of them to really get back into running the ball. You gotta feed your what your success is. You cannot sit here and go from not running the football. You didn't have Drake London. I want them to continue to build off running the football. AJ said, what if they win out? What's up, bro? By the way, y'all see me on me and AJ be doing another stream. I want to say tomorrow afternoon, so be on the lookout for that. If they win out, That's a great question that you just asked. So the weird part about, like I just said, with the NFC South, Tampa 6-5, Carolina 6-5. The one disadvantage right now is at least against, you have one more game with Tampa. You got another game against the Saints. You should pick up another win against the Saints. The Saints are clearly getting ready for the 26th draft, and it's still games left. But the issue for the Falcons is this. But the one benefit is they got them at home. You got Seattle and you got the Rams, who the Rams are looking like probably the dark horse to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. The Seahawks are a really good ball club too. I'm not taking the Seahawks lightly. JSN has definitely been the best wide receiver in the NFL this season. He's not the best receiver in the National Football League. There's a difference. Let me make that clear, because sometimes people will twist your words. I said he has been the best wide receiver in the National Football League in 2025. He is not the best in the league, but he's one of the best. So salute to JSN. That Seahawks game is going to be tough in Atlanta next week when we come back home on the 7th. But then you go to Tampa on Thursday Night Football. We don't know what's the status of Baker Mayfield. We'll see what happens with that. The Cardinals, that's a winnable ball game. That's our last road game before we have a 2-game homestand against the Rams on Monday Night Football and the Saints. So the Falcons, if they're gonna make any noise as far as the NFC South, they got to win next week, and then you got to find a way to steal you got to go 2-1 against the Rams, Seahawks, Bucks. Do I see that? I'm not putting no type of expectations on this team, so I'm not even going to go that far. But again, that's what you're going to have to do if you really see yourself making a run at the NFC South. But like I said, you kind of looking at it's looking a little bad because the Panthers division, the Panthers look like at this point, this is their division to lose because they still got Tampa twice down the stretch. They swept the Falcons. They're likely going to get revenge on New Orleans. So right now, it's Carolina division to lose. But like I said, it would take valiant effort from the Falcons. They would have to basically win out to make it a division race. But it's looking like Carolina could win this division. And shout out to those guys, man. I didn't think that team was – I knew there was talent on that roster, but I didn't think they were going to click this year. But they are. Shout out to my boy, Nick. You probably see him in the comments. I will show him in a minute. He definitely said that the Panthers showed some potential of they could be really special this year. And they've shown that. So salute to him. Let's see. He had a sack in the last 3 games. And yeah, we definitely were all talking about James Pierce Jr. I was hoping he could have came out in 24, but it worked out to our favor. Hold on, me. Yeah. I know that Brandon Dorless, man. Let me give credit where it's due. Brandon Dorless was our 4th round pick in 2024. He's been outstanding for the Falcons. I still think now they may give Ruka Horo another opportunity next season to really get more reps. Rook hasn't been bad, but I don't know. Me personally, I still feel like we need a true game wrecker on that defensive tackle. I don't feel like we have someone that can just straight claw in the middle because to me, Dorless can get after the quarterback. He's a really solid. He reminds me of he's a young Grady to me. He may not be jumping off the film like Grady Jarrett was when he first got here, but he shows me a lot of Grady Jarrett. So that's something to watch out for as well. But yeah, I definitely like what Brandon Doyle's have brought to this roster. Hey, Katie said it's Kirk. Oh, and there go my boy Nick. Yeah, I was just saying that it's the Panthers division to lose. You definitely said before the season that you were going to win the NFC South. And keep pounding. I told y'all. Yeah, you definitely said that y'all were going to win the division. I will definitely give you your props 100% about that. But yeah, again, I still think the Falcons have to they got to start looking towards 2026. You got to see what you have on this squad. Because even yesterday, David Seals, I heard Kirk Cousins said he wanted to get him involved in the game. He called a touchdown yesterday. But again, there's not a lot of talent at wide receiver. There's going to have to be something that the Falcons will have to address this offseason because depth has been a problem with this team. And when you look at the fact that there's been depth issues with this team, that sometimes become a problem. So you got to really think about that as far as 2026 for the Falcons. But like I said, good win yesterday. And they definitely look at a wide receiver in this draft. It's a couple of solid wide receivers. We don't have a first round pick, so you need to start kind of looking in the second round. You possibly got your options of like a Carnell Tate, a Eric Singleton, I'm trying to think of another receiver that could possibly second round now because the combine can change a lot of things. If I would love to go Bulldogs again in the second this year and go get Zachariah Branch or maybe Eric Rivers from Georgia Tech. It's solid receivers in this upcoming draft that the Falcons could easily go get a player. Oh, yeah, Conception. I'm glad I see the name just popped up. Conception is a senior. I definitely would love to have him in the Falcon uniform. But you got to go get you a true wide receiver number 2 and maybe let Darnell Mooney play in the slot. That's what I would honestly do if I was the Falcons. He's going to be under contract. He has a contract year coming up in 2026. And also, you got to start looking at certain players who got contracts coming up after 2026. Jesse Bates is another guy who will be up for a contract in 2026. We don't know really, do the team keep him past? He should be knocking on 30 when his contract comes up, I believe. So you got a situation where you need to see what you have and what's going to be around this roster for after 2025. Because again, I'm just going to be honest. We got to look at the simple fact that this season is kind of looking like a wash. So you get your wins. You find out what you got from your guys from at this point. Let's see. What's going on? He says, see what happens when Kirk is under center. Yeah, they should have been under center, though. That's my issue with the team. They should have been under center way before they got under center. Let's see. This is the class to get the draft. Oh, yeah, this would absolutely be the class. And you said Conception. Yes, sir. Duke, what's going on, Duke? He said Giants. The Giants, man, let me go ahead and throw non-Falcon note about the Giants real quick. If they hit on this draft right, that team could be really good at 2026 because I like what they brought out the gate. Jackson Dart was solid out the gate. What's his name? Cam Scatterbo. I hate he got hurt. Malik Neighbors. They got a lot of young pieces that the right coaching staff come in there and get a good draft in. That team could be a threat in the NFC next season. They're not that far off from really being a threat. Let's see. He said, I say Zach still have to go. Here's why last year we were thinking about Kirk Cousins was a major problem. They bench him, then start Michael. Yeah, that's the thing about it. I think this is showing a lot that Zach Robinson is not a good offensive coordinator. He's just not. He doesn't have he's not creative enough to get this team going in a productive fashion they should be going. Because I even look at the simple fact of you got the rush. I have always said you really need to look at the way that Detroit runs the ball with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who is an incredible talent for the Lions. You truthfully would be in a better position because you got 2 studs at running back. And I really hope we can keep Tyler Algier. But I won't be mad if he decides to go ahead and try to get a starting job somewhere else. But I think he should stay in Atlanta. And let's see. Checking on the comments, the Giants are going to be tough. Yeah, the Giants really, like I just said, if the GM and that group get in there and they get a good draft in, that's going to be a team that should be scary in 2026 because there's talent. Brian Burns has been really, really good for them. He's quietly had double-digit sacks. Abdul Carter's going to get better. Dexter Lawrence is a really solid defensive tackle. You got a really young team with some talent. He said, to be very honest, if we had a better coordinator, Mike, I agree. And that's another thing. I think what happened last season with Kirk having those ridiculous amount of turnovers, it kind of hurt because it was like, okay, we brought you in to be the starter, but man, we're not dealing with you because you didn't even be honest about the simple fact that you were injured at that point last year at New Orleans, and it showed. Frank said that Zach Robinson got Peterson. Yes, he do. Yes, he do, because that pistol We may have seen 5 to 6 pistol plays yesterday, to the point where I was even asking where the pistol was at. So it does make you seem like he don't know what he's doing as far as developing young talent. And it shows. He said, Kirk, yes, we ran play action. One of the drives, I want to say it was the touchdown drive. We ran play action like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, where have this been at all season? So it's frustrating. It was frustrating to watch how the difference looked yesterday. So it's crazy, man. The Atlanta Falcons have a good hand in poker. We just don't know. No, we don't. And that's why I've also talked about seeing an article earlier this week. They're wondering what Arthur Blank's going to do as far as the organization per se. Will he fire, go from top down and fire, which I still think he should do, and get a staff here, because there's sources around the league that says coaches want to come to Atlanta. Yes, I promise you, what makes this season so frustrating is it will be one thing we just lack talent. Let's be honest. The Saints, no disrespect to the New Orleans Saints and their fans that's tuned in. The Saints are a bad roster. They're a bad football club. They know they're in a position where they're trying to position themselves for the draft and really rebuild over the next 2 years. That's what their game plan is. They got to get off those bad contracts and really get it together. The Falcons have talented pieces on this roster that with a better coordinator, you could see. Look at the situation with Indianapolis, the Colts. The Colts are not the Falcons, to me, honestly, have better talent has a better wide receiver one than the Colts group. But it's all about coach. It's all about scheme, everything with that. But JT's probably the best running back in the league this year. So it's all about coaching. That's what it comes down to when you look at this Falcon roster. And he said, I completely agree. But yeah, I'm going to hit these stats from yesterday so we can kind of go down the stats from yesterday. Let me pull this up and go. Okay, there we go. So, looking at the statistics, we go back up to the top. Of course, the Falcons won 24-10 yesterday. Got to 4-7. The Saints dropped to 2-9. Kirk Cousins, 16 of 23, $199, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Okay, let me be the first one to say this. That pick was not on Kirk Cousins. That pick was completely on Kyle Pitts. Also, they could have called defensive pass interference, but we're at New Orleans. They're not going to call that. The Falcons had a ton of penalties, which I'll talk about too in a few, that they called us for yesterday, but we were at New Orleans. They wanted to try to help them boys win however they could. But Kirk got sacked 3 times yesterday. I have to say this. There was a couple, like one of those sacks, Kirk held the ball a little bit too long, but you can see, do not be surprised if the Falcons' first pick in 26 is a tackle, because yes, you got Kalen Gary, who is recovering from his injury, but his contract year is coming up. Jake Matthews is getting older. You got to get younger on the offensive line. You got Chris Lindstrom for your foreseeable future. Newsy probably is going to be on the team that season, and Matthew Bergeron is a solid left guard. So your interior of your offensive line is really good, but you got to get a tackle at some point in this draft. It may not be. Again, you have to think about what's your real top need when you get to that point in the draft and who's going to be around in that second round. So we'll see what happens with that. Tyler Show, 30 for 243, no touchdowns in the pick. He got sacked. The defense got after him, got 5 sacks. He had a Q rating of 74.1. I like Tyler Show for New Orleans, but I just think that they're not that good right now. So, I mean, we'll see what they do at that position. I do know I've been seeing mocks have them taking Mendoza. I don't think they need to really go get a quarterback. They need to go get them skilled position players or address their trenches. Get your pass rush together. Get your offensive line together. You need talent on both sides of the field if you're the New Orleans Saints. They do not need to be trying to go get another quarterback and you'll have a Spencer Rattler, a Tyler Show, and a Mendoza or whoever the QB at the time coming off the board would be. That would be dumb. Okay, moving to the rushing attack. Bijan Robinson, 14 of 70. Tyler, 12 of 44. Again, not the best, not the greatest day at the office running the ball, but they did enough. And it was a balanced amount of carries. That's how it should be for the Falcons. You got two solid running backs. They both should be able to be fresh. But the difference is Bijan was averaging 5 yards a carry. Tyler giving you 4 yards a carry. That's productive enough that you get out of your rushing attack. Now, credit to the Falcons defense on the opposite side. They were 28 of 79, and they had an average of like 2 yards a carry. But again, this also speaks to the fact that Devon Diablo was back yesterday, and they were able to stuff a lot of them runs. And also, side note for the Saints, because I'm again glad we won. I'm a Falcons fan. We'll always be happy to beat the Saints, but I'm gonna keep it a buck on here. The Saints need to stop this Taysom Hill crap. Everybody knows what's coming, including your fan base. You knew 4th down and 1, here comes Taysom Hill. 3rd and short, here comes Taysom Hill. 1st and this, here comes Taysom Hill. People know to be expecting Taysom Hill. He led the team in carries, 10 of 17. That tells you they knew to expect Taysom Hill. That's on Kellen Moore and company. Y'all got to get out. Hey, they got to get away from that Taysom Hill experience because it's trash. That's the best way for me to put it. And Kamara, he actually got hurt early in the first half of the game, so he was out the rest of the game for New Orleans. Let me go to the receivers. For the receivers, hold on. Let me see this comment real quick. Hey, I'm not saying that our season is not over, but I'm going to talk about the team each week. Come on now. Yes, he's way too predictable at this point. I don't know why they continue to still do that. Darnell Mooney led the team with 3 catches for 74. He caught every pass that was thrown to him, which is funny. 4 touchdowns. The boy dropped everything that Penn threw to him. But I'm gonna leave that alone. Bijan was number 2 in rushing. He had that 32-yard screenplay that listen, I love me some Bijan, but man, I tell y'all, I am so sad that Bijan don't have that breakaway speed. Let me tell you, Bijan don't have that breakaway speed. If Bijan had breakaway speed, that man might have been made in the lab for real. Because I love watching Bijan make just terrible plays into something of greatness. Kyle Pitts targeted 5 times, had 2 catches, had a 123-yard catch. Kyle Pitts is starting to have these drops again. That got to change because I promise you will not be a Falcon that season. And look, Charlie Warner had almost the same amount of yards as Kyle Pitts, which is crazy. Dylan Drummond had a couple of catches in the game. David Sills had a touchdown reception. Tyler had 1 catch. Opposite side, Chris Olave didn't get a chance to get off like he really wanted to, 9 of 70. Jawan Johnson had 6 of 46. Devin Neal, by the way, as I said, I'm talking on the perspective as a football fan, not just a Falcons fan. Devin Neal need to get more reps at running back for New Orleans. You got to start looking post Alvin Kamara. That's just a God honest truth because you don't really have a lot of talent on the team, so you need to see what your youth can give you. Devon Villay, 3 for 37. He got a couple of catches at the end. Mason Tipton, 3 for 22. Dante Pett. So they didn't really have a lot going on as far as receiving either. So let's get down to the fumbles. Kirk had that 1 fumble, but Elijah Wilkinson, he got whooped on that play, and he was able to end up getting the recovery. D. Alford recovered the fumble from Tyler Show on that 1 drive where they got the 3 and out, and Falcons got the ball back and got a field goal. Let's get to the defensive stats, but let me hit these 2. I'll show you 2 comments real quick. See, you late. That's what you get for being late. But nah. D. Alford had a good game. D. Alford had a good game. I think D. Alford is a really good cornerback 3 or 4. So if the Falcons CB4. He don't need to be one of your top 2 starters, but he absolutely can be your guy going forward as far as like a CB3 or 4, as far as a 4, not a 3. I still think you need 2 corners. But he had a good game. He definitely had a good game. Y'all know I'm critical of D. Alford, but I give his credit where it's due. He had 10 tackles yesterday. He led the team in tackles, actually. He had a pass breakup. He had a good game. I'm going to give him his props. Trust me when I tell you on that. I give him his props. Oh yeah, Atlanta teams went 2-0 down in New Orleans this weekend. They went down there and got 2-0 this weekend. You never know, Bijan might break away with speed next year. Hey man, I would love it. Duke said, "What do you think the Rams will take with y'all?" I don't know. It's tricky to be real with you because I would have said quarterback, but Stafford been balling. Stafford can possibly play another 2 or 3 years. So this is a really good question. I don't know, man. They could possibly go get a corner. I don't think their corner room is that great. I think they could go look at an Avion Terrell, possibly. They could be in the Caleb Down race at safety. I could see them address that secondary. They could really go add a secondary player. So that should be an interesting pick for them wherever they picking at the draft. But I think they're going to get one of the top secondary players because I think it's going to be a QB run in this draft. I'm not high on this quarterback class, but I think it's going to be a QB run in this draft. And let me get to this next comment. Question: would you get another tight end, someone who's big, physical, and can block? Kyle Pitts will shine if he's in the slot or playing away from the call. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is on the team in 2026. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is on the team in 2026. I think that, but if they do bring him back for cheap, I like Charlie Warner as our tight end number 2. But also, I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is a really good tight end class in the draft. You got R.J. Maryland from SMU. Sadiq from Oregon is going to go first round, of course. You got Oscar Delp coming from Georgia coming out in the draft. Eli Stover from Vandy's coming out in the draft. What's the other tight end? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. There's a couple of solid tight ends that's coming out in this draft, though, that can be productive. Penn State's tight ends is coming out in this draft. There's a couple of really solid tight ends that's coming out that the Falcons could possibly look at addressing later in the draft. Let's see. I forgot we played the Rams. Yeah, we got the Rams on Monday Night Football. I'll be there. They need I don't know, man, because Blake Corum and Kyron Williams been balling together. They got a solid rushing attack, unless you're saying they need like a change of pace back, but I think they're pretty good at that position. Said I definitely think it's going to be the defensive back. Oh, yeah, second. Yeah. But, Caden Ellis, like I said, solid player. I think Caden needs to be a pass rusher. I don't think he's a straight-up, stand-up linebacker. I think, and as y'all see, Devon Diablo, 8 tackles. He showed us what he's back. He came back. That man playing with, hey, man, shout out to Devon Diablo. That man got one arm out there balling, man. I love he's a Devon. And I hope we can get us some solid linebackers around him. Mike Hughes, 6 tackles. Jesse Bates had a nice breakup on Taysom Hill too in the game. Contavious Street had 5 tackles. Brandon Dorlus, man. I was just talking about him. Brandon Dorlus is a really solid defensive tackle. I like what that kid has brought to this team this season. Because technically, it's like his rookie year because he didn't play much last year. If y'all remember, for some reason, Jim Lake did not play a lot of Rook and Dorlus last season for some reason. I never understood that. But, he's been really solid for the Falcons. Contavious Street, of course, he's a solid rotational piece. Let's see. Get these comments real quick. I'm going to the Tampa game. That's a good game to pull up to. Actually, our defense is very good. My only thing for our defense is we need linebackers. I think Caden should be back on the team in 26, but I think Caden Ellis needs to play more pass rusher than at the linebacker position. I'm actually answering both of your questions. You asked me, do I like Caden Ellis? I like him. I definitely like him. But we definitely need to add linebackers around. I still think a defensive tackle could be a piece that we could absolutely go after. Zach Harrison's been really good for the Falcons at D tackle, though. So they may rock with that young group and see what they can get out of them that season. The secondary definitely needs to be addressed as far as corner. I think Mike Hughes and D. Alford does not need to be your 2 and 3. You got to get you a corner of some sort in this draft. It's too much talent that's been coming out the last couple of years in the draft at corner for us not to address it. Let's see. On to the other. Xavier Watts, 6 tackles, had an interception. Again, I don't know how teams let Xavier Watts fall late third round, but I thank y'all for letting that man fall late third round. AJ had 3 tackles, had a really good tackle. I unfortunately thought he was going to miss the game, and the rest of the game he had got a good tackle on Juwan Johnson and hurt himself. Let's see. Algier had 3 special teams tackles. That's pretty good. Let's see. Leonard Floyd, also solid veteran. Of course, he don't really rack up the sacks or anything like that. So that's something that you won't see him do much of. As you see, DeMarco Harris had 3 tackles. Mike Ford had 2. JPJ, a sack and a half, 2 QB hits. Let me be brutally honest. This guy is going to get better as the season goes along. And I think we got ourselves a pass rush, folks. We got a pass rush again. Thank God. We got a pass rush again. Ruka Oro got a sack yesterday. I think he's going to get better as time goes along. Jalen Walker got another sack. Y'all know how I feel about my Bulldog. I'm so glad we drafted him. He's been really solid for us. Ronnie Harrison got that big breakup on that 4th down and goal. Laquel London and Arnold Ebiketie both got a tackle, as you can see. Let me hit some of these comments. I'm late, but this is I like the fact that you're asking this question because it's a legit topic right now. Do we take a quarterback in the 2nd round? I'm going to say no. I think this QB class isn't as strong as people are thinking it is right now. I think you can get a quarterback maybe 3rd round. I wouldn't put my 2nd on a quarterback. I will put one maybe like a 3rd or maybe day 3 because you still kind of want to see what they can get back from Penix once he is able to return. But you need a young guy because I think Kirk Cousins will be cut this offseason. Of course, if y'all know, looking at his contract situation, he will have that. He will have a cap hit of $57.5 million, and the Falcons are not going to pay that. So he will probably cut this offseason. Let's see. Do we go quarterback in the 2nd round? That's the question. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Shedeur, man. I was so proud of that. I was definitely so proud of that. And you said, who do I think they go after? Man, that's tough. That's tough because I'm trying to think of the mid-round quarterbacks right now. You could possibly go get a Garrett Nussmeier and let him be your backup quarterback. You could go get you a This is a tough one. I think Kevin Jennings is a senior from SMU. That's another guy. Mensa from Duke. One of my personal favorite players, I don't think he's going to be a high draft pick, so you may be able to snag him late and develop him, is Taylor Green from Arkansas. I think he's a really solid talent. I think that they gotta get them something young just to see in case those guys have to start. And then, of course, you're going to need a quarterback because the QB market for 26 is not good. So I don't want to trust on none of those older veterans. I would rather get a young guy. Let's embrace this youth movement for once. Okay, let's look at the Saints side of things. Demario Davis still playing at a high level, leading the team in tackles. Once again, Cam Jordan does what he normally do. He plays trash against everybody else, and then he decides to get a sack on the Falcons. Just normal Cam Jordan's crap. But let me see, anybody else on the team made a play. I think it was 3 sacks on the team. So Chase Young got a sack, and Isaiah Stallberg got a sack as well. Yes, once I seen Falcons game, yeah, we definitely hit the jackpot with both of them. You're talking about Sellers. Sellers is going to probably be a 1st-round pick. He's been getting 1st-round grades, so he may not make it out of the top 15. I would love Sellers, actually, but I don't think he's going to make it out of the top 15. And as you see, one thing I pray about is, man, I want new uniforms so bad. Oh, my goodness, I hate them uniforms. Let's see, Xavier Watts and Justin Reed both had picks. That was a pick 6. Tipton almost really set the tone for the Saints early in that game with that 75-yard return, but thankfully we held them to a missed field goal. Dante Pettis had a 25-yard return. Dylan Drummond had a 25-yard return. Agnew had a 39-yard run, but it was a penalty that kind of messed that drive up. Hey, man, let's talk about this also. Zane Gonzalez, 3 of 3, hit a 56-yard field goal. Great day in the office. We finally got a kicker again. Blake Group, he might be cut. You missed 2 kicks in Falcons Saints, and you've been shaky all season. I think he's going to get cut by the Saints. He may not make it to next week's game. Who knows? He might get cut today. But then again, they may let him ride the season out, then cut him after that. I don't think he's going to be the kicker for the Saints in 26, though. I can tell you that right now. And then the punting was 5-3. We punted a little more than the Saints. Let's go to the team statistics. Talk about that real quick. Let's go to first down. Start off at first downs. The Saints had the ball way longer than we did, though. 21 first down to our 13. We were 3 of 12 on third down. Like I said, that could get better. They were 5 of 16. They were 2 of 5 on fourth. We were 1 of 1. They ran almost 25 more plays than we did. We had more total yards and had a few more total drives. 5.5 yards passing. They threw the ball more than we did. Rushing, we actually ran for 121. They ran for only 80. Red zone, the Falcons were 1 of 2 in the red zone. The Saints went 0 of 3. That's the difference in the game right there. Man, let me talk about these penalties. That's how you do with Falcons Saints. Also, let me throw this out here. No, y'all, I'm sure all of y'all remember this was one of the 2 long drives of that third going into the fourth quarter. That was not intentional grounding on Taysom Hill. And that was not intentional grounding on Kirk Cousins. They gave them that flag because the crowd was booing. That's the reason they gave them that flag. And then the turnover, we had 1 turnover in the game, and that really should have been a pass interference on Kyle Pitts. I thought he should have made a better effort for the ball. We had 1 less turnover than them. We forced 2 turnovers. They won time possession. Really, that third quarter where they had the ball 13 of the 15 minutes. That's really the difference of this game, but they didn't even score but 3 points. So that's a credit to your defense of what they did as far as that spot. But that's the stats for the game. And again, like I said, we play Sunday at 1 o'clock against the New York Jets. And I want to say, is it a CBS game? Let me see. It may be a CBS game. That game is going to be on, I'm going to tell y'all that we can 100% certain that game is going to be on Fox, actually. Okay. That's a Fox game for once. But the Falcons will be traveling on the road to New York. They need to try to get a win against one of the teams that are clearly tanking for this season. And we need to see what's going to happen as far as the rest of the season goes. But if you still want to salvage your season, you have to win the game next Sunday. Come home 5-7 and see what you can make of in December. Because although you got the Rams and the Seahawks, that's your tough stretch right there. You got the Rams and Seahawks at home, thankfully, if you're the Falcons. But again, if you're gonna make anything of this season, you got to win next week. If you lose next week, forget the season. Carolina might as well go ahead and celebrate winning the division title. But I don't think it's salvageable. I think Carolina's going to win this division, but that's just me. But again, the games have still got to be played, so we'll see what happens. Oh, no, I'm with you. I think it's not salvageable either, but I'm just being honest about the state of the team right now. So we'll see. Yeah, we got Seattle in 2 weeks here in Atlanta. So, I'll be there losing my voice again. We'll see how that game goes. But Falcons had to pick this win up. They need to win next week too. You need to get to 5-7 and then see what happens through the rest of your season from there. Because you gotta win the games that you're supposed to win. But on that note, this has been an episode of All In with Nate. I appreciate y'all that's been tuned in and watching the show and leaving comments. I really appreciate y'all for being on the show. But until this weekend, well, I actually got a show coming up with my boy AJ tomorrow. We'll probably talk some of everything. So if you want to tune in and enjoy it, I appreciate all of y'all for the comments, and I appreciate all y'all that continuously watch after this show. I'm going to show love to those folks that go back and watch the show too after it's live. So thank all of y'all for the support. But on that note, have a great Thanksgiving week. Enjoy you some good football, eat some good food, and I will see y'all on Sunday. Good morning to y'all. Enjoy your Monday.